All right, guys, the plot thickens on this whole Sam Bankman-Fried, FTX, Alameda, SEC debacle. Um, a lot has come out in the last 24 hours on this situation, and well, let's take a brief overview right here.
More dire. See, originally we thought this team was a bunch of geniuses in crypto. Now it's coming out they were more like a gang of kids who all dated each other. This report comes from CoinDesk. Alameda employees were in romantic relationships with each other, and there's speculation that the CEO of Alameda, Caroline Ellison, became the CEO maybe because she dated Sam Bankman-Fried. Incidentally, she also has been revealed to be a big fan of amphetamines, which is just not great.
Yeah, so this woman Caroline, it's unbelievable that she's the CEO of Alameda Research, and I found this video clip of her on Twitter talking. I mean, she looks like a complete moron, even though I think she went to MIT, but she just looks strung out and just like out of it, and she has no idea what she's doing. I mean, just looks like a hippie you'd find on the side of the road.
A big argument sort of back in whenever it was, June or July, about like, should we even do yield farming at all? And I was kind of like, oh, I don't know. This whole thing seems like weird. And aren't there risks? And like, what if these platforms get hacked? And like, it's like such a huge pain operationally and, you know, accounting wise and all of that. And that argument, I guess. I'm now very glad that whole summer. For me, a lot of it was just about sort of, readjusting my expectations and being open to whatever happened. I think like every week or so, something like weirder than the previous week would happen. And I was like, okay, I just like mentally, you know, adjusted myself to, you know, okay, we're farming comp, and then it's like, oh, now we're farming these things that are like foods. And then now we're farming these like whatever weird.
Anyway, like this is the kind of person who should be like a librarian at like some really, really hardcore liberal arts college where she just smokes pot all day and just like hides in the corner. It's unbelievable that she was in charge of billions of dollars of people's money. And it looks like she was, of course, dating Sam Bankman-Fried. So let's continue this.
When you're controlling billions of dollars. And it gets worse when you realize that SBF had secretly added a, quote, backdoor into FTX's bookkeeping system. This came out just recently, which allowed SBF to, quote, execute commands that could alter the company's financial records without alerting other people. In other words, this is how we believe Sam moved $10 billion in funds from FTX to Alameda without alerting anyone. Later, it was reported that among this $10 billion, some of it also went missing from even Alameda, with Reuters reporting that $1 to $2 billion are unaccounted for, even among Alameda's assets, which again, it just all looks so bad for SBF. And from here,
yeah, so basically it looks like what Sam Bankman-Fried was doing was just basically one big shell game. You know, he was trading with users' funds, and when they would make bad trades, they would just try to find money elsewhere to basically just make it look like they had money coming in. They had their FTT token, which was basically created out of thin air, which that's one thing about crypto. A lot of these tokens, they have no value. I mean, they're not like backed by anything. So he would basically use this FTT token and like print that and give that to people. And it did have some value at the time. But of course, the minute people decide it doesn't have any value, then it basically goes to zero, which is basically what happened. So basically yesterday, so FTX halts trading and withdraws, moves assets to cold wallet after a $477 million suspected hack. I covered this story yesterday. So apparently that backdoor that CoffeeZilla was talking about, most likely it's Sam Bankman-Fried and maybe like one other guy. They're able to take money out without it being noticed. They took out $477 million. There was a story yesterday saying Sam Bankman's plane had just left and it was going to Argentina. But now it looks like, and these are all rumors, nobody knows for sure. Now it looks like Sam Bankman-Fried and a bunch of his cronies are actually in the Bahamas under guard from the Bahamas police. And they're like in the mansion and they're like, they can't go anywhere. So apparently Sam Bankman-Fried was trying to flee to Dubai. So the one thing about Dubai is, it's where a lot of rich people go, but there's no extradition treaties to America. So if you can get to Dubai, it might take years for them to kick you out of there. I think for somebody like Sam Bankman-Fried, most likely because a lot of people in Dubai are into crypto, they probably lost money in FTX. So I don't think he would last very long in that Sharia law country. I think he would either get beheaded or they would probably send him back to the United States. So I actually wouldn't want to be in Dubai, like a crypto hub, if I was in charge of FTX and I lost billions and billions of dollars. But that's where he was trying to go, allegedly. So the guy does look like he's on the run. He hasn't made any tweets. And the guy, it looks like one big Ponzi scheme. So here's from this Autism Capital on Twitter. So the whole reason that Sam Bankman-Fried, FTX, they wanted to bail out BlockFi was to get the users' funds on their platform. So it was all one big shell game. So basically, they figured, hey, look, if we buy out this BlockFi for pennies on a dollar, we'll be able to get these user funds since we've already basically used so much of our users on FTX users' funds. This is kind of a way to get some more to have on our balance sheet. So it's just a shell game that was basically going to implode at any moment, kind of on the level of like a Bernie Madoff type Ponzi. And they all implode eventually. And the thing that makes them implode is when you eventually get that bank run. So eventually people get suspicious, and CZ set off the suspicion with that tweet. And then people basically just run in and try to get their money out, and then they figure out, oh wait, they don't even have the money. They have enough money to pay out the hundreds of people who are trading every day trying to get out. But when every single person on your platform tries to get out, you're pretty much absolutely screwed. And that's pretty much what happened on that front. So, and here's another. This was an article, or a video from a few days ago where I think there's a CEO of Huobi Exchange. She's basically explaining why CZ made the tweet, and also very interestingly that Luna, Three Arrows Capital, all these things that collapsed were all done by Sam Bankman-Fried and Alameda Research. They caused a whole collapse. If that's true, basically Sam Bankman-Fried destroyed crypto. Like he killed, not only did people lose all their money in the exchanges, which is like billions of dollars, all the people like you and me who just held Bitcoin and Ethereum and all these, and the value's down 90%. That's all because of Sam Bankman-Fried. Because think about it, folks. If Luna never crashed, if UST never crashed, if FTX never crashed, we'd definitely be at like a $50,000 Bitcoin right now. There's no question. At least 40,000. We wouldn't have gone down this fast. So he is like the villain from like a movie, like Darth Vader, and he's like destroyed crypto. Now crypto will come back, but man, he did a lot of damage. So the good news is that he's gone, and I don't think anybody's going to let this ever happen again. But man, one fat little fuck loser. I mean, Sam Bankman-Fried, look, I'm not considering myself to be like a Rico Suave or anything, but if my friends and I saw that guy in a bar, nobody would even give him the time of day. And like no woman would ever talk to this guy. He's just a loser, like sociopath, like just a like mommy's basement kind of loser. The kind of people we just all like make fun of because they're such losers. And this is the guy that managed to destroy crypto. Just a little brat from MIT who was probably born with a silver spoon in his mouth, and not to mention a big Democrat. He was a giant Democrat donor. Now he did that basically because he probably knew this whole house of cards was eventually going to fall. And a lot of people who donate to Democrats, they eventually, they get bailed out and they don't get prosecuted. But it is very interesting. He's a big Democrat. I think Democrats are corrupt in this country. I think Democrats and Republicans are corrupt. But I mean, if you look at Nancy Pelosi's trading record for stocks, she makes $200,000 a year and she's worth billions of dollars, and 90% of her stock trades are spot on. I mean, there's obviously something going on there. So this is all, like I said, it's all one big happy family of scammers. And he was giving so much, so he was basically giving blood money to the Democrats. So if those Democrats don't give back any of that money, they basically took blood money. Anyway, so here's some of this interview.
I knew it because I heard from one of the very good friends from CZ. So that's why I think that at the very beginning, so CZ was trying very hard to protecting Bitcoin price, to protecting this whole winter. But then Sam and aligning with all of his Wall Street money team to break it, to make it not come true. So that's the whole reason, CZ started this.
So what you're saying, I just want to make sure I understand. And if I say something inaccurate, do correct me. So what you're saying, and I'm just gonna mute you and then unmute when you speak, just because there's a bit of feedback on your end, not too much, just a bit. So what you're saying is that what triggered the situation that FTX and Alameda's in right now, it was initially triggered by 3 Arrows Capital and the exposure they had. Obviously, it's recklessness as well. Now, that's where, no, you, in your opinion, Sam knew that he may have a problem. And then CZ knew this, and he blamed Sam for the downfall of, I think he said Luna, correct?
Yes.
Well, she said 3 Arrows Capital, but yeah.
Okay. So on the downfall of 3 Arrows. So you said, Wendy, just confirm, Sam, CZ's blaming Sam for the downfall of 3 Arrows.
I think CZ is not blaming it because as a CEO of one exchange, you're not supposed to touch any of your users' assets.
Okay, so CZ knew. Okay, so you're not blaming for the downfall. Okay, so CZ is just, he knows that Sam is playing around with the user's assets and taking those risks. CZ was not happy about this, and that's why he mentioned in his initial tweet, we learned a lesson from Luna. And you're saying that he knew that his tweet will trigger what it triggered today.
So Luna, well, okay, so that's another story. So Luna was, at the very beginning, why Luna got how to say? So the whole situation of Luna also caused by Sam. But Sam didn't take any advice or didn't take any.
Okay, so that's I knew I heard it right, Wahid. I knew I heard it right, Wahid. So you're saying the Luna situation was also caused by Sam through Alameda.
Yes. And then CZ somehow he noticed Sam. He talked to Sam, and then Sam didn't listen to him, and then Sam did a 3 Arrow on purpose. So 3 Arrow got bankrupt, all because they had a future trading, they had a prep trading on FTX, and Sam did it a counterparty every single deal with it. So CZ was not happy with it, and then he find out that's because it's a, like people know, it's a like 8 billion gaps. There's why Sam is doing it, because he need money. And why he need money? Because he moved all of the users money, the user's money, not his money, on FTX, moving to do something else, to do his personal trading, his personal futures and preps. So this is everything.
So anyway, so she's kind of hard to understand because of the language barrier and it's a bad connection. But yeah, Sam Bankman-Fried was taking all the users' money, he squandered it, and he was basically trying to get other money. So he would short like UST and Luna, try to collapse other companies and basically short those companies, try to buy out those companies so he could get their users' funds because he had squandered a lot of the users' funds on FTX. Giant Ponzi. I would actually have to say this is probably more sinister than Bernie Madoff. And it just, new information comes out every day. There's also connections to Gary Gensler, which is, you can't make this stuff up. I'm fascinated by this whole thing. George from Cryptos R Us explains it pretty well, but apparently, Sam Bankman-Fried went to MIT, as well as that woman I showed you, that CFO of Alameda, CTO of Alameda, and Gary Gensler was a teacher at MIT, and there's like connections in the family to this guy, and Sam Bankman-Fried was meeting with Gary Gensler often in DC. So there's something weird going on there. I mean, Gary Gensler really has failed the people, and maybe he's even in on it. I don't know. But you know, this is out of a movie. There's going to be a movie written about this in a couple years. But this is what's going on with the SEC and everything.
I know a lot of you guys are calling for Gary Gensler's resignation too, and I've been mentioning about it in terms of this relationship, this weird relationship between SBF, Caroline, and Gary, right? And maybe this was Gary's plan all along to get more power and crash the entire crypto industry, right? So even a congressman, Tom Emmer, and I covered this before, he's claiming that Gary is running to the media, right? Like going on CNBC and Squawk Box and talking about how, oh, this is dangers of crypto and why we need to regulate it more. So we're having a congressman come out and saying, while Gary is doing that, my office alleges that he's been helping SBF and FTX work on legal loopholes to obtain a regulatory monopoly. He's been helping SBF to become a monopoly. Why? Why? Right? So here's the connection, the official connection. Gary Gensler's boss at MIT, Glenn Ellison, happens to be the father of Caroline, the co-CEO of Alameda. So obviously there's a connection there. SBF also went to MIT and created Alameda Research. So obviously there's a close connection to both of them to Gary Gensler. Okay, and that's not all. The general counsel of FTX also served as lead counsel to Gensler while he was at CFTC, right? So there is definitely a connection going on between Gary, Caroline, and SBF, right? So was this a plan all along by either Gary to make FTX the dominant exchange in the US, right? Becoming a monopoly, or he set this in motion because he knew they would fail because they were just a bunch of kids basically running an empire that he knew would fail, and this ultimately would give Gary even more power, right? After
Yeah, so definitely a connection there. So it kind of reminds me of that George Carlin saying, let me pull it up.
The vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security money. They want your fucking retirement money. They want it back so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you sooner or later because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I...
You gotta love George Carlin. So yeah, it's a big club and you ain't in it, and that's how it goes on. You know, these guys, you know, Sam Bankman-Fried, the SEC guys, they're MIT people. I mean, these are the cream of the crop, like probably rich parents. MIT is like $100,000 a year to go to. Gary Gensler, they're all the elites of the elites. They all hang out together, they drink together, they go to family events together, they're in the same country clubs together. And it does look like Gary Gensler was probably trying to help out Sam Bankman-Fried because of his family ties. So he needs to be fired. It looks like he is being investigated. But look, the plot thickens with this whole Sam Bankman-Fried situation. I mean, we could go on all day. I'm just trying to figure out if I missed anything. Yeah, Republican lawmaker claims SEC chair was coordinating with FTX to obtain regulatory monopoly. So like I said, we're only a couple days into this. This is a fascinating story. I'll be following it all week. I assume more is going to come out tomorrow and Tuesday and just throughout the week as more and more gets divulged. I would suspect that Sam Bankman-Fried will probably end up in handcuffs at some point this week. But then again, folks, with all his connections, you know, maybe he won't. I don't really know, but it really is interesting, and I'll be following it. Here's Vitalik. He came out and he basically said, look, Mt. Gox looks sketchy and never tried too hard to whitewash itself. Luna looks sketchy too. FTX was the opposite and did a full-on compliance virtue signaling, not the same as compliance. So basically, that's what just makes FTX even worse. They tried to pretend like they were like the cream of the crop. They tried to pretend that they were in with the regulators. And it turned out they were the biggest scammers of them all. At least with something like Luna, you know, guys who had some common sense like me could look at Luna and say that was a scam in UST, and a lot of people called it a scam just because it was just a sketchy blockchain. Same with Mt. Gox and all that stuff. But with something like FTX, you're like, hey, look, you know, Sam Bankman-Fried, you know, he's in with the congressman, he's in with the regulations. Maybe he's trying to do the right thing. And it turned out he was 100% wolf in sheep's clothing, and it really did damage the crypto market. Like I said, folks, the crypto market will be fine in the end. The worst has happened. And actually, Bitcoin's actually holding out pretty good. I mean, isn't it kind of remarkable that Bitcoin hasn't even gone down to $12,000 yet? So, and a lot of these altcoins are actually holding out better than expected. So we'll see what happens this week. It's going to be a very volatile week, and there will be a lot more news coming out on Sam Bankman-Fried. But it does look like this is something out of a movie. It's very, very complicated. And all we can do is basically just wake up every morning and just try to figure out what the hell is going on. But like I said, the market will recover, but it's going to take some time. Now's the time to be buying cheap coins, folks. Anyway, like and subscribe. Have a good day.